What up? What up? What up? Welcome to another Mantuary podcast, Man Cave Mondays. Give me a link with Charlie if you can hear me loud and clear. My name is Marine X. Thank you for stopping by for another one, first one of May 2024. Hopefully, y'all are having a good day. If your day is over, let me know. What did you carry today? If your day is still continuous, what is in your pockets? I would love to know with your comments down below. We'll talk about what I'm carrying, what I'm smoking, what I'm sipping on, some couple stories for the day, and all of that good stuff. It was a interesting weekend. Mrs. X had her birthday weekend, so it was a very eventful weekend. Okay, a lot of opportunity to go 20 toes, and I appreciate stuff like that. Okay, we appreciate that, Boosie. We like that. You know, rum makes Mrs. X do some crazy things, and I like stuff like that. But that birthday weekend's over. Cinco de Mayo is over. We're in the middle of this fantastic rap beef that has been consuming my last few days. You know what I'm saying? And it's so crazy that today in history, May 6th, 1915, Babe Ruth hits his first ever home run. Listen, if you're a Gen Xer out there and you don't know who Babe Ruth is, then it's gonna be some furniture moving around when I see you. Okay, I'm just saying, Babe Ruth, a legend in Major League Baseball. He hit his very first home run ever in 1915. He would eventually end his career with 714 homers, which stood until 1974. Of course, I grew up in the days of Sammy Sosa. Who was the dude that was up on roids or something like that? It was a white guy with like red hair or something like that. Listen, I remember the days of Sammy Sosa and just chasing after the home run championships and who can have the most home runs. And it was crazy. People painting Sosa on their bodies and all that type of stuff. And I appreciate the OGs who weren't doping, who weren't roided up. Babe Ruth is just out there drinking his man milk, doing his curls, and banging out home runs back in the early 20th century. We appreciate that type of stuff. Also, May 6th, 1942. Now, during World War II, the U.S. surrendered very few times. Okay, we ultimately won the war, but there were battles that we did have to surrender within World War II. One of them was after 27 days of fighting in the Filipino Islands. The U.S. forces and the Filipino forces were both fighting to keep hold of this 2 square mile island. After 27 days of fighting, we eventually surrendered that island to the Japanese, who were just overwhelming us with tons and tons and thousands of forces. It would take us 3 years to take that island back, but that just shows how resilient America is, and we got to love stuff like that, man. Yeah, Mark McGuire. The days of Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa, those days I can remember well. Me, I'm an 86, but I was born in 1986. I'm 38 years old. I can remember those days of just being like, why are so many people like up in arms about this? And to find out that Mark McGuire may have not been on the up and up. I want to say allegedly, because I really didn't follow it closely. I know little Mark McGuire is not going to come after little old me, but just in case he does, allegedly wasn't on the up and up. Let me know if he was. But that's something that is pretty crazy. It's just the today in history, to think about where we are in 2024 and where we were in centuries past is something to think about. Now let's talk about Grail EDC Not for Me. Now, Grail EDC Not for Me, this is specifically everyday carry items that you may find interesting, some others may find interesting, but I absolutely it's just not for me. Now we're looking at the May 2024 Buck of the Month. So Buck Knives has a Buck of the Month. They usually will come out with a knife that already exists and give us some type of flair, or they'll just, make a specific type of buck knife the knife of the month. The Buck of the Month is it's a pun to kind of go off of, like, you have the most tremendous looking buck or quote unquote deer, right? And so this one is the Buck. This is the 112, but this is a D2 steel. This has a ruby red Cerakote, and the actual scales are Cerakoted as well. They have a black Cerakote finish. They're made of aluminum. Here's my issue with this. This is $154. Let's call it $155. D2 steel knife, Cerakoted. If you hard use this knife, that Cerakoting is going to rip itself off of that blade steel. So me particularly, I'm already not interested in spending over $100 on a D2 knife that's not a fixed blade. But I sure am not interested in spending $155 on a D2 knife for which is Cerakoted. Now I love my 112. My 112 Pro is S30V, which is an American made steel. American, it has my Carta scales. It gets grandpa excited. I love it. I like it a lot. Okay. I love it. But this one here, although they are trying to make it look attractive, they're trying to reach those masses. I do think that they are taking one of their popular models and kind of running with it. But I think they need to really come down on that price a little bit because me particularly, I don't care about the profile or anything like that. But for $155, this is easily Grail EDC Not for me. Smash or pass in the chat. Is it S for a smash or a P for a pass? Would you pick this up? Are you a Buck fanboy? Do you remember those days of Buck and you're just like, X, I don't care what you're talking about. Throw it in the cart, purchase it right now. It's absolutely not for me, but you never know. I may be surprised to see the different folks that may like this type of stuff as well. Now, the first story I want to talk about is an interesting one because there is a millionaire, a millionaire 32-year-old woman, a millionaire 32-year-old woman literally went to 3 different high schools. She played an entire calendar year of high school basketball and did not get found out as being a 32-year-old cosplaying as a 16-year-old and a 13-year-old. I thought this was a crazy ass story. So this millionaire young lady, she faked being a 16-year-old. She initially went to a high school, and then she eventually made her way. Her name is Shelby Hewitt, and she eventually made her way to a first high school. She pretended to be 16 years old. She pretended like didn't have a home and she was from an abused family. She eventually played so hard that she got her therapist and her therapist husband to become her foster parents. Like, how was that? No, really. She got them to become her foster parents. She transferred to another school and started playing high school basketball. 32-year-old. Could you imagine this 32? Imagine she could dunk. Imagine you're a 32-year-old male. First off, that's weird. You know what I'm saying? This story doesn't get as much hype. This is coming from us from barstoolsports.com, courtesy of Daily Mail. This is crazy because if this was a 32-year-old male trying to pretend to be a 16-year-old to go back to high school, they would have sent him up a river. She finally got found out because she transferred to a third school and tried to pretend to be a 13-year-old. And when she did that, she had one of her friends call the school and pretend to be her therapist and say that she was getting bullied. The school finally investigated and found out that, yeah, this broad is actually 32 years old. I was like, oh, my God, come on, man. She is now getting charged with criminal forgery and identity theft, identity fraud. And the crazy thing is she's a millionaire. She got an inheritance from her real parents when they died. After she got that inheritance, she didn't decide to get a house. She just decided to pretend to be a high schooler. I think she needs help. I mean, she went to the point where she even got braces put in her mouth. She didn't need braces. Her teeth were just fine. Her parents were super rich. So I don't know. I don't know why some folks think that, obviously she probably has some mental issues. But me personally, if you have the ability to fake that many people, what does that have to say about the city's record keeping? She doesn't have paperwork, forged paperwork, and went to 3 different high schools. Now here in Texas, if you want to transfer high schools, the shit is pretty simple. But I'm like, God damn, that is, yeah, that is for me personally, that is not cool. If I would have found out I was 32-year-old around even my daughter, I would have had a whole issue with that. A whole issue with that, man. Now, before I jump into the next story, let's talk about what I'm actually smoking and drinking on today. So for the smoke, we're having an H. Upman, an 1844 Special Robusto. This is the Barber edition. This pays homage to the actual founder of the cigar company itself, his German roots. That's why it looks like a barber pole. And I actually really enjoy this quite a bit. It does give me chocolate. It has a very, very big draw to the point where it produces a lot of smoke. Normally to the point when I smoke this thing, I normally have to kind of keep it away from my face, which normally is not my go-to when I smoke sticks, but this is kind of one of those ones. I'm pairing this with a Rittenhouse rye. If you're not a rye drinker, if you're a bourbon guy or a Scot or a Canadian guy or whatever, try a Rittenhouse rye. It's approximately $26 American. you can easily try to find it, sub 30 pretty easily. And it's an easy drinker. If you buy it, you don't like it, you're out of 26 bucks. This is a great pairing. This stick is normally around the $9 mark. So if you want to enjoy the same type of combination that I'm having, it's going to cost you a little bit less than $40. This has about a 50 gauge on it, on the actual stick itself. So it's not as big as some of those sticks that I absolutely would never try. Okay. But I do think that it is a easy combination to go over all together. That brings me into what I'm actually caring for today. Now, it's crazy because I'm trying to find, I'm trying to force myself to actually give a go for some of the stuff that I already have. I always have these items that I may not carry in them, and I have them for a long time. I just had an EDC yard sale. Okay. If you don't know what that is on my channel, I think everything might be gone. I only thing I might have left is the Kaiser, but I had an EDC cyber yard sale. Basically what that is I put out a video. I say, hey, I have a overabundance of certain items. I don't want to be gluttonous with my everyday carry. So my loss is your gain. And I was selling stuff at crazy prices. One of the items that I sold was the Benchmade Mini Adamas, which I love the Mini Adamas. I did. But the full size Adamas makes grandpa a little bit more excited. The full size Adamas is almost a 4-inch blade length. And this OD green color is so effing sexy. Now, Benchmade has basically become a meme because of their prices. And me personally, I'm not giving them any of my money because of where their prices are nowadays. But for some of my older carries that I've had for a couple of years, oh, 100%, man. This is almost too big to reverse. It's a big knife, okay? Like I pulled this out. I went to a cheer banquet on Sunday afternoon. Everybody's dressed all nice. I pulled this out to cut open a brand new package of paper cups that they were trying to serve to some of the kiddos. And they were like, God, that's a big ass knife. I said, I kind of feel like a weirdo, but this is Texas. Everybody had knives and guns on them anyway. So who really cares? I love the finish on this. This does have the CPM crew wear blade steel, which is a blade steel that's just an absolute monster outdoors for corrosion resistance and toughness and hardness and all that good stuff. So it's almost a little bit too big to carry in a pocket. But the reason I like this knife so much is that it almost turns into a fixed blade when you go to bang on it and hit on it. It's not full tang, obviously, but with the liners, the scales themselves, the fit and finish of this, I enjoy this quite a bit. Just released today is the Woobin T4 tactical flashlight. This is an 850 lumen turbo mode flashlight, which I think I might actually do a video on it. I talked about this. There's some quirks about it I don't like this glass breaker just comes right off. And I get it. You want people to be able to remove the glass breaker, but most companies put a little bit of Loctite on there, and you have to use a little bit of you have to actually use a little like a tool or something to take that off. But that's a little complaint because I will say this thing feels so good in the hand. This little grip that they made for it, where your middle finger goes in there and you can actuate the actual flashlight with one. Oh my God. Woobin has been hitting it out the park with their flashlights lately, but they really tried to make this one tactical. Has an aluminum alloy body. You can get it in 2 different colors. The front of it, although it's aluminum, the very front of it is an actual, I forgot what type of steel. I want to say stainless steel, but it might actually be, they made a hard steel so that if you have to use this for hammering or if you had to use this for self-defense, it's made of stainless steel at the very front instead of aluminum or aluminium, as I like to troll and say, which actually makes a ton of sense. So I like the fact that they're banging out products like this. Not only are they banging out products like this, they're doing it for like a reasonable price. This thing is dropping specifically it's coming out at 70 bucks. So they're trying to come at the throat of the Olights of the world. They're coming at the throat of Streamlights of the world. Streamlight and Nightcore have more features, but if you can get that type of pricing, then why not? Type-C charging port, IP68 rating, which means basically it can go underwater for 30 minutes, 3 feet of water, 30 minutes, and it should be just good to go, which means you can use this thing in the rain and with no issues whatsoever. Now, I don't know what comes in the box. When they sent it to me, it was a prototype. I literally just got like an envelope with a flashlight, no charging cable. So I don't know what comes with it. I don't know if you get a charging cable. Let me see. I hope you get a charging cable. I don't know what the hell comes with it, but I can tell you that I have been testing it for a while Woburn has been, I've been impressed by some of their products lately. This one has my attention, and I actually may do a review on it. Some other things I thought was interesting about it is that you can actually go to a strobe mode by like a half click of the rear switch, which I really like that as well. Oh, that's what it is. Tungsten steel hard attack on the front. That's what it's called on the front. So it just has a really, you can use the glass breaker for that hard attack. That's made of tungsten steel, and then they made the very front of the flashlight made with that as well. So listen, Woburn is trying. They are legit trying to continue to pierce the woes of all of us that like the everyday carry type of stuff. And I'll probably do a full video on this thing, but I just wanted to kind of show you guys what this thing looks like. On the wrist is the VAR A12 Dirty Dozen. VAR just dropped some new stuff. I'll probably do some videos about that as well. Also got some stuff coming in from Ben Roos and some Mercedes. My watches has just been an interesting thing for me. I'm a really big into automatic watches. I like mechanical watches overall. Quartz movement watches are fine, but I really love me a good automatic watch. This one here exposes the actual movement in the rear, which I'm a big fan of. I think this one has a Japanese move. Actually, don't quote me on that. I can't remember what the A12 has. I just know that it has Grandpa excited. I'm a big fan of this watch. Big pricey boy though. This thing comes in about 900 bucks. So if you're trying to find an automatic movement, I probably got some suggestions for you in the future. That's a little bit cheaper than that, but this one is an A12, meaning it met all the specifications. We talked about that history story earlier. This is the type of watch that officers during World War II would have worn along with Hamilton. VAR wasn't making them back then, but VAR has directly made the specifications needed to be considered a watch for field use in World War II. That's why it costs so much money. They're on the same playing field as the Hamiltons of the world, etc., etc. Now, Tactile turned in their side click pin. Tactile turns good at Cerakoting stuff. Now, we talked about that buck knife that was Cerakoted, looked a little crazy. I like the subtleness of Tactile turn Cerakoting. This is their trail pin from last year. I love the pocket clip. It has like, I think it has Sasquatch on there, Bigfoot on there. And it's just a nice pin to use. I changed this out for blue ink. Most of these pins come with black, but I thought it was a little weird to have a blue cap and then like grabbing it writes black. So I actually changed it out for a. Did I change it with? I can't remember if I got a Tactile turn refill or if I just bought some refills on Amazon. This is a Pilot. Yeah, so it's a Pilot refill. I don't know which specifically, but that's one thing I like about Tactile turn is you don't have to use any proprietary refills or nothing crazy like that. You literally can just use common refills that you grab on Amazon. If you want a different writing style or something like that, then it kind of makes life that much easier. So that's the pen I've been using today. Obviously, writing in my MarineX EDC notebook, the Chronicle, shameless self promotion, which is what I use for journaling and for different writing techniques and stuff like that every single day. Most of everything else has kind of been put away for the day. The only thing that's left in the pocket, because I might have to do a late night run to the store, is the Axwell wallet. Listen, Dango sent me their M1 Maverick. I tried that out for quite a while, and I've decided that the Dango wallet's not for me. I'm gonna probably give that away. It's just too big. It's too bulky. I ended up going out when I went out with Mrs. X. We were going to a nice restaurant, and the wallet was so effing big. I was like, I can't fit this in slacks. So I did eventually swap out, going back to the Axwell wallet, which is starting to get some nice patina on it, starting to wear in well. I'm wearing off the naming of there from carrying this thing so much. This one's made of copper. You can easily change this out if you want to and change this out. 10% off with any of my codes down below for both this or the Woburn flashlight if you're interested in this. This came out way too pricey, I think, when it came out in 2022. It dropped it like $125. You can now pick these up for like 80 bucks. Plus, if you use my discount code, get even more off, which makes sense. Now the pricing is way fair because they were above Rigid, and Rigid already has shitty pricing. So for them to come down on their pricing makes a lot of sense. So yeah, that is the carry for today. Just a nice, simple carry. I say simple, but anything else? I've been testing out the Nutsack Sling Plus. I'm looking at it now on the wall. I have it hanging on the wall. It's an interesting sling bag. I I don't know how I feel about it. It might actually be a little bit too big for me. I know that's hard to think about and hard to say, but it actually might be a little bit too big for me, and I have to consider whether or not I can use it in this specific way or not. Let me know what you carry, comments down below, and all of that good stuff as well. Japan is getting tired of tourists, and I blame Gen Z. I blame Gen Z. I might even be wrong. Maybe I don't know what I'm talking. Okay, a town in. I thought that this was funny because I blame Gen Z once again because in I can't Fuji Marco Chuko. I can't pronounce that, but in Fuji, Japan, they are tired of people stopping to take a picture of Mount Fuji. People are getting hit by cars. I'm telling you, this has to be. Look at these freaking folks standing in the middle of the street so they can get themselves pictured in frame with Mount Fuji. They're getting so tired of it. They're literally constructing a large black screen so that you can no longer take photos of the mountain in the background. I'm like, how? Like, okay, if a part of your everyday carries a camera and you're a tourist and you're always going to these different places, like, how do you find yourself being a nuisance to an entire town to the point where they are now constructing an entire screen so that you can no longer get your photo opportunity? Just go there, go on the tour. Don't be that guy standing in the middle of the street. I think that that is absolutely freaking ridiculous, in my opinion. Standing in the middle of the street so they can get these type of things. Do not run out into the roadway. They have to put it in English because us freaking Americans, okay? So they got to put that out there as well. They started the construction on this thing. It's going to be done. You know, it's just because Japan and China, they build shit fucking fast. So, you know, that's just going to be done in like a goddamn week, man. I already know. All these freaking, in my opinion, morons out here trying to get a picture with Mount Fuji just so you can have it a part of your arsenal. I think that that is trash, especially if you have the luck to get mowed down by a car. But you may have the luck of this one Massachusetts woman that I thought was fantastic. I want to know what type of juice she has. One woman in Massachusetts beats the odds and wins $1 million lottery ticket twice in 10 weeks. First off, I don't know if Massachusetts has a rule where you have to be pictured with your winnings, but if I win the lotto here in Texas, y'all ain't getting a goddamn photo of me. It ain't happening. I know some states have it written into their state law that you have to take a photo to show that there's an actual real winner. Okay, I understand that. This lady, her name is Kristen Wilson, has won her second $1 million lottery prize in 10 weeks. That's less than 3 months. The odds of that are 283 billion to 1. There's not 283 billion people on the earth. She's won it twice. I don't know how she did it, but she took the payout twice. And apparently the first million didn't change her life enough. I mean, she does live in Massachusetts. I don't know. How much everyday carry and prep gear, truck mods would you do with $1 million? Is what I want to know. $1 million twice in 10 weeks, all within the calendar year of 2024. Getting rich overnight doesn't change that type of money. Yeah, me personally, if I hit that thing twice, then you're not going to see me for quite a while. You can go ahead, pack it up, okay? So one thing I thought was interesting that's upcoming, I was just talking about Tactile Turn and their upcoming, or the pen that I'm using today. One of my favorite knives for my fixed blade knives, a reason that I'm so easily and willing to get rid of some of my fixed blade knives is because of Montana Knife Company. Montana Knife Company, they're obviously out of Montana. The founder, Josh Smith, as pictured here, he's a master bladesmith. He started, I think he was like 12 years old or something like that. And he just slowly built up his skills. They're dropping a collaboration with Tactile Turn tomorrow, 12 Mountain Time, which I guess is what, 1300 my time. I might see if I can get my hands on one of these. I live down the street from Tactile Turn. Tactile Turn is probably what, 15-minute drive for me. And this looks very, very interesting for a number of reasons. If you look closely, this is one of the first Tactile Turn pens. They all have like this Tactile Turn ribbed for her pleasure feel that is like unique to them, right? But I don't think I've seen a bolt action pen with the rib for her pleasure right where your index and your thumb fingers meet. I love the subtle branding with Montana Knife Company. I like their knives. I like Tactile Turn. This is like a match made in heaven. I've seen them do other collaborations that would completely have me disinterested. But when they put out their macro lens and they get to take some photos like this, and I see this type of goodness, it's dropping tomorrow. I don't know about $125, but I've spent more than that on I've spent I'm probably north of $500 when it comes to Tactile Turn. I love their pens. I write every day for hours per day, from journaling in the morning, for all the way to throughout the entire day writing. This is the type of pen that has me highly. I think it's going to sell out though. I might have to actually physically go to Tactile Turn and see if I could just buy one. I'm gonna have to physically just go there to see if I can just buy one. But what do you think about this? Oh my God, they have this. I think that's a speed goat, or maybe that's a mini speed goat. And what do you think about this specific pin? If you're if you do journaling, is this a smash or a pass for you? S for smash or a P for pass? S for smash, a P for pass when it comes to this upcoming release with the collaboration of Tactile Turn and Montana Knife Company. This thing's going to be $125. It drops in 14 hours. It has a orange Cerakote finish. Now, the reason I like a Cerakote finish on a pen a little bit different than a a knife is because you're not using a pen in a rugged specific way. These are like, if you've ever seen a tour of Tactile Turn's facility, they have these big old Swift lathe machines that are actually milling down pieces of stainless steel or titanium or whatever metal they're using. You buy, and I mentioned this earlier, you can buy Pilot G2 refills on Amazon. And once you make your purchase of this expensive pen, you can now make your refill purchases. It costs you about $6, right? So is this a pricey boy? Yes. Could you literally use this for decades because of the refill options? Yes, you could. Am I gonna pick one up? There's a possibility, Boosie. I could. Okay. I mean, it that knurl. Listen, the thing that has me is because the knurling towards the bottom. That's the word I was looking for. The knurling towards the bottom reminds me of a ratchet. I don't know if you guys work with tools, but when I have a good ratchet with some knurling on it, it gets grandpa excited. It makes me want to use my socket set. It makes me want to use if I have like a long nose ratchet and I have to use an extension and that has some knurling on it. It just makes me excited. It says if you buy one of these Montana Knife Company and Tactile Turn EDC pins, it comes with a MKC field notes. What is that going to look like? Because that field notes in the background looks like a regular field note. I guess they're going to have a specially branded field notes as well, which is field notes is made in America. Field books is not. So now you got all this made in America goodness for your journaling needs. That might be something that you might want to look into. We're now in the month of May. It is time to focus yourself on the upcoming months that are going to bring with it heat. Now I live in Texas. I think about this type of stuff. Maybe you live in Cape Cod. Maybe you live in Toronto or Quebec or you're in Australia and you're entering the winter. In this, what I'm about to say may not matter for you, but maybe it does. But it's time to change out your HVAC filters. That's an easy DIY. You should be doing that. In my opinion, you should be doing it monthly anyway, but at a minimum every 3 months. But it's time to change out your HVAC filters. Give your HVAC system a tune up if it has a requirement for it. So some of your HVAC condensers or fans or whatever can be oiled. If you know how to do that, oil it yourself. If it doesn't require it, if it's an oilless system, don't worry about that. If you don't know what the F I'm talking about, have an HVAC technician come out and give your system a spring service. Now, some of those are scammy, right? A spring service, they charge you $100. All they do is just clean your condenser. But some of those, you may actually need some lubrication for some of your items. And if that $100 includes the changing of your filters, they're checking on your plumbing, or if they're checking on the actual furnace, they check and see if everything's running correctly. That might be worth it, right? So it's time to take a look at your your filters themselves. If you're manually putting in your AC into each room in the window, time to plop that thing in the window. Get yourself ready for these upcoming months. I don't want you to wait until the dead of winter or the dead of summer to do maintenance or for your system to break. And now the HVAC techs A are busier, B are unavailable, or C, you have to buy an entire new unit. So those small type of things might be something that you may want to do. I do mine. Another thing when I change out me specifically, because everyone in my effing house except for me and my oldest son have crazy allergies. No, I don't, but everyone else does. So we use I think it's called myrrh. What is it called? Somebody let me know what it's called. I think it's called myrrh. Like when you have the actual HVAC filters that have a ability to grab more allergens out of the air as it's filtering the air, they cost way more money. You have to change them out way more often, but it keeps my household air pretty clean. So that's something to think about as well. But EDC, the maintenance for the week, I say EDC, it's not EDC maintenance of the week. The maintenance of the week is changing out your HVAC filters. Now, if you live in an apartment, I used to live in an apartment that didn't have the filters. I don't know how. I guess they have some type of system. I don't know. I don't know how the shit worked. Well, we didn't have to change our filters. But my first apartment that I had here in the Dallas Metroplex, you had to either call the maintenance man to come change that shit out. I would just change it myself because the ones they put in were really shitty. You know, they were pretty shitty. But the MERV, that's what it's called. That's what it's called. Yeah, that's what it's called. The MERV. Appreciate that. Yeah, so the higher the rating, it may be better for your family, but that's something that you have to think about if you don't have allergen problems and you don't necessarily need to think about that. But the maintenance of the week, I would like to know if you did that come next week when we're on the next podcast, because it will make stuff that much better. Hey guys, thank you once again for stopping by for another Mantuary podcast, Man Cave Mondays, all that good stuff. If this is your first time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If you're a channel member, this live stream in its entirety will be available to you to watch. If you're not a channel member, we'll thank you and consider joining channel memberships. Well appreciated. You get these videos in their full entirety. You get other videos dropped early. For instance, I dropped my everyday carry Cyber Monday or Cyber sale that I had the other day to channel members first, and they bought up a lot of stuff before other people. So that might be something that you may want to check out. For everyone else, we will speak soon.